What happens when a TSA officer abuses his power to humiliate a black student at the airport? He thought he had all the control until the girl's mother walked in. What happened next flipped the entire situation on its head. Monica Williams had spent months preparing for this moment. A 17-year-old black girl from Los Angeles. She wasn't just smart, she was brilliant. A finalist in a national science competition, she had cracked a formula for renewable energy storage that had scientists and investors buzzing. And now, she was flying to New York to prove she had what it took to change the world. The air at LAX buzzed with the usual chaos. Announcements blaring, rolling suitcases clicking against the floor, impatient travelers sighing as they snaked through security lines. Monica adjusted the strap of her backpack and kept her focus. She was too excited to be stressed. As she shuffled forward in line, she noticed an older woman struggling with her carry-on. Without hesitation, she stepped forward. "Let me get that for you, ma'am." The woman looked up, surprised, then smiled as Monica hoisted the bag onto the conveyor belt. "Thank you, sweetheart. Such a kind young lady." Monica returned the smile. Her mother had raised her right. Help where you can, always with grace. But apparently, kindness wasn't the kind of thing everyone noticed. "Hey, you!" The voice cut through the air like a blade. Monica turned, and there he was, Officer Richardson. Tall, built like a linebacker, with close-cropped blonde hair and a presence that screamed, "I'm in charge." His blue eyes locked onto her with an intensity that sent a chill up her spine. "Hand over your documents. Now." "No, please. No reason. Just straight-up command mode." Monica blinked. Wait a minute. There were dozens of people in line. Why was he zoning in on her? "I have them right here, sir," she said, keeping her tone polite but firm. She pulled out her passport and boarding pass, already feeling a knot tighten in her stomach. Richardson snatched the passport and flipped through it, squinting like the text was written in ancient hieroglyphics. His jaw tensed as he glanced from the document to her face. This yours?" His voice dripped with doubt. Monica's brow furrowed. "Yes, of course." Richardson let out a low hum, flipping the pages back and forth. "Doesn't seem right." He turned to the officer beside him, his voice loud enough for half the terminal to hear. "Something's off here. Possible fraudulent ID." "Fraudulent?" The word hit Monica like a slap. A ripple of whispers spread through the passengers around her. A few people stole cautious glances at her, while others flat out stepped back like she was suddenly dangerous. She felt her stomach drop. "Oh, so this is happening." "Sir, this is completely unnecessary," she said, forcing her voice to stay even. Richardson smirked, the kind of smirk that said, "Oh, I'm enjoying this. If you've got nothing to hide, you won't mind a little extra screening." His hand hovered near his belt. He wasn't asking. Monica inhaled sharply. "Here we go." "Wait," she said, stepping back instinctively. "Why am I being singled out?" "You're acting way too confident for someone under investigation." That was it. That one sentence made her blood run hot. Too confident. What did he expect? For her to shrink? To crumble? She scanned the crowd. A few people looked uncomfortable, but nobody said a word. Not a single person. This is what they mean when they say silence is complicity. Then, before she could say another word, Richardson grabbed her by the arm. "Come with me." And just like that, her world tilted. To be continued. What happens next changes everything. Stay here, because you won't want to miss how this unfolds. The interrogation room was the definition of cold. Not just in temperature, but in intent. It was one of those generic, windowless boxes designed to make people sweat, fluorescent lights buzzing, white walls so plain they practically screamed, "You have no power here." Monica sat stiffly in a plastic chair that felt like it was designed to be uncomfortable. Across from her, Officer Richardson leaned against the table, arms crossed, exuding the smug confidence of a man who thought he had already won. Let's go over this again," he said, voice syrupy with fake patience. "Where did you really get that passport?" Monica stared at him. Was this man serious? "It's mine," she said, keeping her voice level. "I was born and raised in this country. You can verify it." Richardson tilted his head, considering her words like they were some elaborate riddle. Then he chuckled, a slow, dismissive sound that sent a chill through her. A little too well-spoken for a liar, huh? Monica's jaw clenched. Oh, so that's what this was. She had heard this tone before, the "you sound too smart, too articulate, too confident" attitude that always seemed to come out when people like Richardson felt the need to put someone in their place. Her stomach twisted, but she didn't flinch. "Call my mom," she said, making sure her voice was steady. Richardson smirked, that kind of smirk that made it clear he was enjoying himself. "Oh, we'll get to that," he said, "but first, let's make sure you're not hiding anything else." Before Monica could process what that meant, the door swung open. A female TSA officer stepped in, snapping on a pair of latex gloves. Monica felt her entire body go rigid. "We're conducting a full pat-down," the woman announced, her tone robotic. Monica shot up from her chair, every nerve in her body screaming, "No! You have no right to do this! I haven't done anything wrong!" Richardson just watched her, the corner of his mouth twitching upward like he had been waiting for this reaction. "If you're innocent," he said, tilting his head, "what's the problem?" Monica's breath caught in her throat. Oh, he was really playing that game? If she resisted, she'd look uncooperative. If she allowed it, she'd be humiliated. Either way, Richardson won. Her heart pounded against her ribs. She could feel the heat of her anger rising, pressing against the back of her throat. This wasn't about security. This was about control. Then, like a lifeline, her phone buzzed from inside her jacket pocket. "Mom," hope surged through her. "That's my mom. Let me answer." She reached for her pocket, but before she could grab it, Richardson's hand darted forward. He plucked the phone out and with one smooth motion, pressed decline. "She can wait," he said, his voice so casual it made her skin crawl. Monica's blood boiled. She can wait? Her mother, the woman who owned an entire airline, who could buy and sell this entire airport if she wanted to, could wait? Oh, Richardson had no idea who he was messing with. Just as her pulse reached full throttle, the door swung open again. A different TSA officer stepped inside, his face tight. "Richardson, you're needed in the main office, immediately." Richardson turned, clearly annoyed at being interrupted. "What's this about?" The officer didn't blink. "You'll find out soon enough. Move." For the first time since this nightmare started, Monica saw something flicker across Richardson's face. Hesitation. Oh. Now he was nervous. Monica sat still, heart pounding, as Richardson shot her one last glance, one that wasn't quite as smug as before stepping out. The door closed behind him, leaving a thick silence in its wake. Monica exhaled. Something was happening. And for the first time in this whole mess, she had a feeling the tables were about to turn. This is it, the moment everything shifts. You've waited for this, and trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. The door swung open. Monica's breath caught as her mother walked in, tall, poised, commanding the room without saying a word. Midnight blue suit, sharp heels, eyes like steel, the kind of presence that made grown men sit up straight. The TSA supervisor stiffened instantly. "Oh, Miss Williams," he stammered. Richardson, just escorted back into the room, turned and froze. His face shifted from annoyance to absolute horror. "You," his voice cracked. Yes," her mother said coolly. "I own this airline, and I just received a report that my daughter was unlawfully detained and harassed by you." Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Richardson's face turned a deep, deep red. Misunderstanding," he choked out. Her mother stepped forward, voice cutting through the air like a blade. "No, this was racial profiling. You knew exactly what you were doing, and now there will be consequences." Richardson opened his mouth. Shut it. He could feel it. The power had shifted. "No, I've already spoken to your superiors," she continued. "You are officially suspended, pending an internal investigation." The words hit like a gavel in a courtroom. I was just following protocol." "Lies," she snapped, And now your career is on the line. Richardson's jaw tightened. He had lost. Get out, she ordered. For a second, he hesitated. Then, stiff with humiliation, he stormed out. The second the door shut, Monica felt air rush back into her lungs. Her mother softened, stepping toward her. Are you okay, baby? Tears burned at the edges of Monica's eyes, but she nodded. I was scared, but I knew you'd come. Her mother pulled her into a hug, holding her tight. The TSA supervisor cleared his throat awkwardly. Miss Williams, we deeply apologize. This is not how we operate. Monica met his gaze, voice steady. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. Her mother squeezed her hand. You handled this with grace. Now go win that competition. Monica smiled. She wasn't just a victim. She was a fighter, and she would win.